A lot more people are gonna get killed.
Freeze, Lynch! Police! You're under arrest! Morgan!
That's pretty good.
I can do anything I want!
And you can't do a goddamn thing about it.
Drop your gun! Put your hands over your head! What do you want from me?
I want a doctor. I want one now, and you're gonna give me one.
Welcome to They Call This a Movie, testing the strength of friendships one terrible movie at a time. Subscribe to the podcast on iTunes and other podcast services by searching for They Call This a Movie and find us on Twitter and Instagram at TicTamPod. That's TCTAM Pod. Welcome back to They Call This a Movie. This is Anthony Delvecchio. With me as always is Dan Aquino and Mark Meyer. Say hello, gentlemen.
Hello, friends.
Hello, everyone. My brain is on vacation brain at this point, looking forward to my trip that I mentioned last week. But I did happen to complete something last weekend. I did fulfill the Barbenheimer movies. And the idea of seeing the people that I saw in the Barbie movie also go and see Oppenheimer just made me laugh when I was comparing the two audiences. It was the audience that I saw it with was a bunch of people probably over the age of 50. And Barbie was the complete opposite. But yeah, the only thing I regret was since I used my movie pass card to see it, I didn't get to see it in 70 millimeter, and I feel that would have been a better experience for the movie. But it was a wild seeing two completely different crowds, and it also tells that I've probably been going to the movies that play more to my age group, because this is the first time that I've been surrounded by older moviegoers in a while.
So you mean the 70 millimeter copy of Barbie, right?
Yes,
Okay.
exactly.
Yeah, the way that it was shot, that's cinema.
It deserves that.
Yeah.
And then Oppenheimer can be on standard screens.
Sure.
I did get to see the one weird trailer for the new Paul Giamatti movie that was shot like it was a 70s trailer, which was pretty fun. I forget the name of the movie, but they did the freeze frame end with the name of the movie pops up, like the title screen thing at the end. So that was a fun preview to see. But I'm glad I went and saw it. But yeah, it's really weird to be back in fully packed movie theaters, which has been a first despite me going back to the movies almost consistently since things started opening up.
You should have waited till you were in London to see Barbie.
I should have saw Barbie in London.
Yeah, and see how they react. Like, what do people overseas, over the pond, what do they think of Barbie?
Why is that Margot Robbie not using her accent?
Right. Yeah, I'm gonna see Oppenheimer this weekend. And I'm not super excited about it, to be honest. I feel like I'm missing out on Barbie.
Yeah, I think the one thing I mentioned to you guys in chat was Oppenheimer, great movie, probably will win Best Picture. But Barbie felt more worth my time with it. Not only because it was 1 hour less of a runtime, but the epicness of what Nolan was going for with Oppenheimer. I don't know. It just felt like I've been more going to the movies for fun stuff than, these long serious pieces recently. So it might have just been a me thing.
I just want to hear Margot Robbie tell me that I'm useless, essentially. Like, there's no need for us in the world. I want that. I need that. Just tell me that the patriarchy is terrible and we're useless. I need that in my life.
So are you Ken enough?
Well, Ken is useless, so yes, I am. I'm definitely. Is that a real word? Knuff?
Well, he wears a shirt at the end that says "I am," and it's K in front of enough.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
you pronounce it like Ken Nuff.
Ken
Nuff, as in
Ken
Ken.
Nuff.
Ken
Okay.
Nuff.
Not Knuff. No, it's
No, not Knuff.
like
I mean,
Knuff
it's
almost.
like Patreon and Patreon, but I digress.
Right. Yeah, I'm definitely along the same lines as Ken, just useless and along for the ride, essentially, with a good-looking wife. Or they're not married, right? They're just boyfriend and girlfriend or something like that. I don't know what it's like in the movie, but
I can't spoil it for you.
oh, okay. Well, from the outside looking in, the parallels to Ken and I they're dangerously close.
I know. You do love Matchbox 20.
I actually do like Matchbox 20. I listened to a couple of their songs on the way home from work today, so
There you go.
it still holds up. What's the album, man? It still holds up.
Mad Season still holds up.
Mad Season. Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, there was. It felt really sad that there was a couple videos that popped up on TikTok that were like, "Oh, my face when I found out that wasn't written for the Barbie movie," and I was like, "Oh."
Can I peel the onion back real quick for a second?
Yeah.
And if that's all right with the Matchbox 20 joke.
Sure.
Do you care if I? All right. So, Mark, you may not know this, or you might, but the audience doesn't. Years ago, Anthony and I wrote a pilot script for a sitcom, and one of the jokes in the pilot is how Matchbox 20's Mad Season still holds up. So we still use that to this day, obviously. And I still feel like it's a pretty solid joke. I love it. That and the what was it? We kept saying that's heavy.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm hoping that maybe someone out there is a director or showrunner who's listening to this. Like, that sounds like something we could use for our fledgling. What's up?
But obviously after the WGA strike is over.
Yeah.
Everyone out there.
Yes.
Sure. But I'm willing to cross that picket line. Welcome. I gotta get mine.
The views of Dan Aquino do not align with the rest of the podcast, but
that is true. Yeah, I'm notoriously out for myself.
Yeah, he's gone rogue.
I'm right.
But anyway, this week we had a movie that we watched that wasn't Barbie, wasn't Oppenheimer, wasn't Barbenheimer, wasn't Knuff, wasn't Knuff. It was a movie. And this week was Dan's pick. So Dan, why don't you tell us which movie you picked this week?
Yeah, sure. Essentially, I was having a hard time figuring out what to watch, and I kind of went back to the well of movies that are notoriously bad, and I came across Amir Shervan, and he is the director of such famous movies as Samurai Cop and Hollywood Cop, both movies that we've covered on this podcast. So I went back to the well one more time with his 1988 Killing American Style.
Okay, great. And where are you guys coming from with it, Dan?
So I've never seen it before. I knew that we were going to be in for a treat, though, obviously following in the footsteps of Samurai Cop and Hollywood Cop. But I think they're saying Samurai Cop came out after this. I'm not too sure about that. Mm-hmm. And
would they be lying?
I don't know. It says 1991, but I don't think that's true. Is it?
I think so.
Oh, yeah. Is it? It doesn't look like it's in 1991. But anyway, yeah, I love this movie. It's not Samurai Cop or Hollywood Cop, but it's maybe like 1B or 1C. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
There's a lot of weird shirtless dudes running around in this movie. You get boobs in the first 5 minutes. It has everything you want. It has Jim Brown in it for a few minutes. They really make sure that he's on like front and center on the poster, but he's not really a big part of this movie for whatever reason. You got Robert Zadar in it. You can't go wrong when he's there. Awkward acting, awkward fight scenes. Guys getting shot with no wounds on them, and then blood everywhere at some other time. A weird plot that I still can't figure out what was going on there. It's a fun movie. It's a bit of a slog at times, it makes no sense, but I still loved it. I was laughing hysterically when the loony, one of the characters, is killed, and he just screams to the heavens a few times. Yeah, just a weird mix of a movie. I don't know how to describe it. I'm curious how you guys feel about it, because I'm still trying to wrap my head around this one.
Okay. Mark, what about you? Where do you come from? Killing American Style.
Yeah, so I was pretty sure, and I looked it up beforehand, that I noticed very similarities to the previous two movies that we've seen that this director has done. So I was sure it was in the same mental idea. But yeah, my favorite part of all this is just how, as Dan said, how like incomprehensible the plot is, or their plan. They like rob this very heavily armed place where like the ice cream trucks go, and they just put the money in a bag. And that the guy was apparently stores in the bottom of a desk cabinet thing. And then they just start shooting a whole bunch of cops for literally no reason. Instead of just trying to get away. Getting that using a GTA idea, getting that want it level up when it was completely unnecessary. And the whole fact that none of these people seemed like they were. I don't know if Robert Zadar's character vetted his co-conspirators, because they didn't really seem to know how to work together nor fit together. So that was kind of fun. But they tried to put them into, as the writers tried to put them into like different stereotypes. Like one's the hothead, one's the calm one, and then Zadar, trying to be the badass. But yeah, it was really weird. It was a lot of funny moments. I loved our hero of the story. Just the way he dressed.
He's useless.
He's useless, and the craziest outfits. Like he wore that late 80s staple of that tank top that why is he even wearing that tank top?
Mm-hmm.
He wears shoulder pads.
Yeah, his shoulder pads in one scene. I think I have two favorite scenes that made me laugh the most. One was when they were sneaking up on the house and Robert Zadar and Lynch walked up shirtless, and then decided to put on shirts to walk into the house. Like they were carrying the shirts in their hand.
Yeah. Oh, they start the scene out shirtless.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they decided to put on shirts.
Yeah, I don't know why. That's such a weird direction.
Yeah. The laugh on my end came from the fact that they were carrying the shirts in their hand. Like, what? I don't think I've ever taken off a shirt somewhere and then just had it in my hand while I was walking around.
Right.
It usually got put down on a seat or on the ground or something.
Yeah.
And then the other scene was later with the kid when they're starting to shoot everyone. And the kid just looks really excited about it and looks back at the mom who's terrified. Well, she's terrified for other reasons, but, just a completely like psychopath response to what was going on in front of him. But yeah, outside of all the craziness and some of the really fun, goofy, like when that one cop pops out of nowhere, when they're chasing down our hero, and he's got to fight him with the what does he have in his hand, like the bag, either the bag of money or the briefcase, and he's got to fight him. That was fun, and very reminiscent of like Samurai Cop sort of ideal. But I think the part that was the most tough to watch, and they lingered on it way too long, which made me feel bad, was when they had the rape scene in the bathroom. That just felt like I was too long. I didn't need all that. I kind of got it early. Right. And so, but I guess they've been setting up that guy as a creep from the very start, when he's watching the girls dance.
I didn't understand his character, Lynch's character.
I don't get it at all either. And one fun thing I just remembered was when they were doing that striptease dance in front of him beginning, the one girl drops her jean shorts and then does not pick them up. It just leaves them on the floor.
The way the movie starts out and how it continues is baffling. It starts out with Lynch Is he a director? Is he a talent agent? I don't know what he is.
Runs a strip club.
I think he's auditioning girls for a place at the strip club.
Okay, but that never comes into play after that scene.
Yeah, it was just an excuse to show girls barely dressed.
The one girl is all about. I thought that one girl who shows up and like knocks his socks off with the split.
Mm-hmm.
I thought she was gonna play into this movie a little more. She's there for that scene, and then the scene where she's getting ready to bang Lynch, and then she disappears.
Yeah. Yep. Basically.
Yeah, it was just a weird way to. I didn't know. Again, I don't know who any of these people are. The movie doesn't really tell you what their deal is. They're just robbers, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
And they knock over an ice cream truck department or warehouse.
Yeah.
I don't know, it's such an odd choice to start the movie.
Yeah, and I'd gotten so like face confused with people, especially the girls at some point, that I thought that one female cop walked in. I thought she was one of the dancers in the beginning. And I'm like, oh, are they going to tie this together?
That would have been smart.
You know, like she was undercover.
Yeah,
Right.
it was a sting operation.
It was the miniskirt that threw you off.
Yeah, I was like, wait, are they trying to insinuate this? Because I mean, that'd be a hell of a twist. But no, it was just a woman in a miniskirt to walk in and talk to Jim Brown.
Jim Brown literally has no effect on this plot.
None. You
Yeah.
can take him right out.
Yeah,
Just,
and he
name
was
recognition.
having a hard time doing his role as a cop inside that brothel.
that has one of my favorite lines in the movie. They call me backwards because I like it in the back. And his response, I know.
Yes.
What? How do you know?
I've been here before.
Yeah, right. Oh, Jim Brown. Those were his days in the Cleveland Browns, right? Or was it the Baltimore, right? Oh, that was the Baltimore Colts.
He would have been retired by this point.
Yeah, probably. Yeah. Oh, geez, Louise. I don't know about this movie, guys, but it's baffling, and I love it.
As for me, I am not sure if I've ever seen this movie before. I know I've seen Hollywood Cop and Samurai Cop, but they all just kind of blend together. So maybe I've seen this before, maybe I haven't. I don't know. But, you know, for being a weird looking fucking dude as Robert Zadar is, he's kind of great, like in this specific role.
He actually, I feel like in all the movies we've seen him in, this is the one where he really gets to stretch out his acting chops.
Yeah. Like, he's not a great actor, but he's got screen presence.
Sure.
In this type of role.
Yeah, I agree. I think he actually he makes this movie fun.
Mm-hmm.
Because he definitely goes over the top, and he like Mark said, he's the calm, collected guy, right? He's the ringleader, but he can still ham it up.
Yeah.
So he definitely brings a certain energy to the movie. And not saying it's a good energy necessarily, but it's an energy.
I think it's an energy that propels this movie because we're getting none of it from our hero John
God.
Morgan, who was literally in a waterbed for most of the second act.
That's my favorite scene of the movie, where the son steals the gun from Looney and brings it to his parents. The dad is unconscious. And the mom is reeling from being sexually assaulted.
Yeah.
So the kid's like, "Hey, look, I got a gun," and the mom is sobbing on the ground, and the dad, who is our hero, goes, "I can't."
Yep.
What a great scene.
Yeah.
Just unbelievable.
Should have gave it to the doctor.
Right.
Kill him Japanese style.
But the doctor is Japanese, played by an Hispanic man.
Yes. Yes.
So it wouldn't be authentic Japanese style killing.
No.
I can't believe I'm going to say this, but Matthew Carradis, who plays Samurai Cop, is a far better actor than the main character or the main hero in this movie.
Mm-hmm.
This guy's a fucking dud.
Yeah. It's funny. Mark, I think it was Mark that mentioned his clothes. in the final scene, and my wife had only caught the last 10 minutes of this movie, and she saw him with his tank top, his Zubaz pants, and his suit jacket, his gold suit jacket or whatever he was wearing. And she's like, why do they always dress like that? And I was like, I don't think anybody's ever dressed like this ever.
So I have in my notes, and this is another obscure reference. John Morgan is dressed like the main singer from the band Dead or Alive. And the Dead or Alive, for those of you who don't know, are the band that sang "You Spin Me Round Like a Record."
Yeah.
Just look it up. Look up the look up the video to that, and tell me that's not almost the exact outfit that John Morgan is wearing at the end. Just this
Yeah,
outrageous.
it very much screamed like the costume designer watched a lot of hair metal, and there were two costume designers, people that loved like that new wave hair metal, like sort of 80s look, and then people that loved watching bodybuilders.
Yeah, the tank, right? The tank has that deep cut, so you can see the pecs.
Yeah.
So you can see how your gains are coming along. That's just this movie has some really. There's a scene where a grown man pushes an adult kid because he won't fight his son.
Yeah.
And that adult man is the dirtiest fighter I've ever seen.
Right. But that's our hero. Our hero gets fucking mopped. Barely wins a fight against a no-name character, an NPC in this movie. I have written down John sucks at rescue attempts.
Sure.
What else? A lot of weird scenes. Like towards the end, there are shots where you can see the frame of the film. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like they don't cut or they don't edit out the frame of the actual film, so you can see that.
It also took me till the end to realize that a lot of the actors were wearing white just so that the blood pack would show better when they got shot.
Sure.
You can even see whatever the Lynch is wearing at the end when he falls over. You can see it stick out of the shirt as he's falling backwards. It was a lot of the stunt things were funny. There was the one guy that got shot when they were chasing down John, and he like spun around and then realized that he needed to go the other way. so then he did a half spin the other way so that he would fall on the mat or whatever was below him.
My favorite kill is when Robert Zadar's brother and Looney are pretending to be their car broken down. So my favorite kill is there's a cop. They shoot the cop. He falls down, gets right back up, and they shoot him again in the same spot, and he dies. That's my favorite kill. It's just like the way he gets shot, he falls down. It's almost like he bounces back up and gets shot again. There's a scene towards the end where John runs into Fernando, Jose's kid, and he's telling Fernando like, "Oh, you can't be here anymore. Run, go back home." And he's like pushing him off, and you can see the kid laughing.
Yeah.
You're like, this is great. And these were just, I guess, the best takes they had.
Probably the only takes they had.
That's what it feels, right? Like just a movie filled with one shot takes.
Yeah. There was like a scene where a couple of the characters are on the stairs. I think maybe when they're demanding a doctor or something, and you could see like the boom mic, someone like leaning over the balcony and leaning over the balcony from the second floor. You could see it bouncing into the shot a couple times.
Yeah. I think that's this guy's calling card, right? Amir Shervan.
Yeah.
He God bless him, he's doing his best.
Yeah.
And he's just inept as a director.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. There's like that one shot of the motel, like it was just like an insert shot.
Yeah.
But it was
right?
like it was weird and green.
I'm glad you picked up on that because I thought I was like tripping balls for a second.
Yeah.
I don't remember doing any drugs. It looked like a Grateful Dead background.
Yeah. Yeah, the coloring on the at the end bounced around wildly from shot to shot too.
Yeah, I guess it was just that these things happened and he didn't know how to fix them.
Yeah. Or just didn't have the money to fix them.
Yeah, maybe they ran out of money. He didn't know, didn't have time to do it.
Yeah.
Could be all three things. And it's just whatever you get, you get.
Mm.
And there's a line in this movie he liked so much, he reused it for Samurai Cop. It was keep it warm for me.
Yeah.
Do you remember that? Like in this movie, I think it was Lynch talking to the blonde that he was
at the very beginning. Yeah.
Yeah. And then in Samurai Cop, it's Samurai Cop talking to a female police officer who's in a helicopter. Keep it warm for me. And he winks at the camera. Those are the little charms that Samurai Cop had that Killing American Style doesn't.
Yeah.
There's some good stuff in here, though, but it doesn't quite reach the same levels as Samurai Cop.
It's bogged down by the fact that we're stuck in the same house for most of it.
That's a good point. That's true. It's an odd. It was an odd direction because Mark, you mentioned it. Like their plan was to just go into a random house and hope that whoever's there can treat a bullet wound.
Yeah, like that whole section where they go to the motel and they're like, "We can't go to a motel. They don't know we go to a motel." And I'm like, "Yeah, but how would they know you went to that motel?"
Right? Is it the only motel in the city?
Yeah, and they're like, "We need a house." Like that's the logical next step. And then the whole reason you think they need the house is because it's easier to hide out in, But then it comes to the fact that the reason they need the house is because they need to treat the bullet wound, which never came up before that. And then I don't know why they did this, but then they happen on this house and it just happens to have a nursing student in it.
Right, and that's what made me laugh. Like, they just happened to go into a house that has a nursing student.
Yeah, like they had to have an excuse. Like, we're going to have these two girls sitting by the pool and we'll show creepy Lynch staring at the girls while Robert Zadar and them stand at a half wall. What are you doing? Go in.
Yeah, like half scaling the wall.
Yeah. And so one of the girls had to be able to know what to do with a wound of some kind.
Right.
But yeah, it was just that whole sequence until they get to the house was like the writer ran out of ideas for how to put how to do this, or this little section was like a last minute thing, addition when they were writing the script or putting the story together, if they even really wrote a full script for this and not just pieces.
It was written and directed by Amir.
So he could have made this entire section up on the spot. Essentially.
I'm assuming it's they had a house for maybe he knew someone who owned this house and he wanted to use it, so that we have to get the most out of this house.
Yeah, and basically the whole motel thing, that whole sequence was just him going, "Oh, we need a way to get them from the bus to the house. Why don't we use the motel we're going to use later, say they went to go there, and then say, no, they went to the house." Yes. Sure. And it just makes, why wouldn't they just go right to a house? But the one funny thing about the motel, I'll say before I let you go, Dan, I love that John decided to park so far away from the front door of the motel for some reason and had to run up that driveway.
And there's no one else at the motel, apparently.
Yeah.
He's the only car there. It also, this bleeds over to Hollywood Cop in a way, right? Because at the beginning of Hollywood Cop, there's a group of I guess gang. There's a gang that just wanders into this person's house and kills everyone in the house and just kind of holds up there. So I guess Amir Shervan likes to reuse ideas.
Yeah, I mean he's got a theme.
It seems like it.
He knows what he does. I can't say well, but
I think this is just what he thought American cinema was.
Yeah,
it's just a bunch of boobs, killing, and just fight scenes. That's what his American movies were.
Yeah,
I don't know exactly where he's from. He's from Iran, so yeah, I'm assuming he kind of fell in love with a certain type of movie from America. I'm like, well, yeah, well, that's what it is, so that's what I'm gonna make.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, probably like that. So, Killing American Style from 1988 is directed by Amir Shervan, who's directed Young Rebels, Hollywood Cop, and Samurai Cop. So this is their third Amir Shervan movie. Stars Harold Diamond, Jim Brown, Robert Zadar, Joselito Rescobar, John Lynch, Veronica Paul, Jimmy Williams. IMDb score of 4.1, Rotten Tomatoes score of 20% audience. There was no critic score. And I couldn't find any budget or box office.
Yeah, you reminded me that I did look up that Lynch's name was literally John Lynch.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's just playing himself.
Yeah, just,
I hope not too closely.
I think it might have been closely.
Can you imagine, like,
too good, right?
Like, what would I do in this situation? Oh yeah, I would sexually harass this woman.
Yeah.
That's what the real John Lynch would do.
Yeah, or it's like, people just kept calling him Lynch on set, and the director was like, "Ah, fine, his name's Lynch. I can't keep you guys screwing up and not calling him the character name I gave him."
It's a fine last name for a gangster, I guess. Lynch.
Yeah.
Sounds pretty menacing.
No relation to Hall of Fame safety John Lynch.
That's a bummer.
And not that I'm aware of anyway. But
just ruined the movie for me.
Yeah,
this is his only credit. John Lynch. He only starred in Killing American Style. That was it.
Yeah, and you can't. Yeah, and you also can't convince me that one of the guys that answers the phone in this movie is not Mel Kiper Jr.
Oh, the cousin?
Yeah.
They are pretty close. It's hard to believe that the person who went on to have somewhat of a career out of all these people is Zadar.
Mm-hmm.
Because I'm not trying to be mean, but the man has a look.
Yeah.
You know what
so that's why he had a career.
I guess so. Because he really didn't hit it off big time, But he's been in a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
He was actually in a movie in 2022.
Yeah, I think it's posthumous.
Oh, he's dead.
He's been dead for a bit.
Oh, wow, yeah, 2015.
Yeah. So
how did that happen? I guess this is something that had been made before then and just came out in 2022.
Yeah, it probably was made before he died, I would think.
Okay. Because there's a lot of movies that he's...
Is it this third Weekend at Bernie's movie?
Where they just prop up his corpse?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just massive chin skeleton just hang out in the corner.
So Lynn was, as I mentioned, watched the last 10 minutes, so I wanted to point out just what Robert Zadar looks like. And according to his Wikipedia page, it is a medical condition called cherubism. And she's like, there's no way that's that. That looks like just botched plastic surgery.
Jen said the same thing.
Yeah.
Why did he do that to himself? I'm pretty sure he was born that way. You can't say that's true.
That's the official word is that it's cherubism. But she's pulling up pictures of cherubism. It's nothing quite as symmetrical as his face is.
Yeah, I think it was botched, and he just said, "Oh yeah, I was born this way. You can't prove otherwise."
It's a lot of face.
It is. That's a lot of real estate there. His chin walks into the scene 5 minutes before he does.
I think that's how it comes off in my notes. Robert Zadar shows up giant chin first.
Jen said he should play the live rendition of Sexy Squidward.
Yes. He does look like Sexy Squidward. That is 100% what he is.
Well, I was like, I don't think he can do that because he's dead. It's going to be a problem. But he definitely has a look. It's a shame that he didn't really capitalize on it a little bit more. Because I'm looking through his IMDb, and it's just all B movie stuff. Super Hell, Vampire Boulevard. And he was in Maniac Cop.
Yeah, he did 3 Maniac Cop movies.
Oh, he did. Okay, so I knew he was in the one with Bruce Campbell.
Yes.
So that's probably the closest you get to some sort of big time movie.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, just nothing really to write home about.
It's a B-movie actor.
Yeah, he made his living doing B movies.
Yeah, and an episode of Growing Pains.
And The Flash. Interesting. He's in Tango and Cash. That's pretty big.
That is. His name is Face in that.
That's not nice. Hey, you with the face. We're just gonna call you Face. It's like a Dick Tracy villain.
Yeah. He would have been a good Dick Tracy villain.
That would have been great. You wouldn't have to do any prosthetics on him.
Yeah.
And just listen to what's his name? Who's the main villain in that? Why can't I think of it? Al Pacino.
Al Pacino.
Just have Al Pacino yelling at Robert Zadar. Just really getting in on him.
Yeah. You guys want to get into the plot?
Let's do it.
Yeah.
All right, Dan, what do you got for us?
All right, guys. Just real quick, please take a look at two friends of the podcast, if you will. Top 10 with Tia. We've had her on before. Go to geekvibesnation.com, search Top 10 with Tia. It'll pop right up. And also the Game Vault podcast with our good friend Mark and Tom and Jen. It's a video game podcast. Airs every other Monday on all available podcatchers of your choice. So just go search Game Vault Podcast. It'll pop right up. Please rate and review them. And that's going to do it for me. Short and sweet.
All right, great. We're going to take a quick break. You guys are going to listen to messages from friends of the podcast. So we will be right back.
Hey, this is Ken M.
And Padawan J.
from the ODPH podcast.
Each week, we talk a parlay of topics.
That's right, whether it's sports, pro wrestling, movies, TV, comics, and more, we've got a take on it.
And don't forget, odphpodcast.com for links for Patreon, TeePublic, and the Parlay Points blogs, and much more.
Thanks for listening to the ODPH podcast. Now back to your regularly scheduled show.
You know I don't know I was so damn hard to say.
Welcome, travelers. Seems like you're looking for a story. Well, I got one for you. Involves adventure, friendship, and all sorts of...
Earl, why don't you tell him about that time I stole that big-ass melon?
Yeah, I was going for more...
Or you could tell him about the time I kicked your ass, Earl.
I wouldn't ever tell them.
Do I need to get my ref gear on?
Okay, everyone, shut up. Now come with me as I tell you a story from afar. Hey everybody, my name's David. I'm the DM for From Afar Podcast. From Afar Podcast is all about four friends separated by distance, but brought together by adventure. Hope you all stop by and give us a listen. Thanks.
And welcome back. Now it's time to get into the plot for Killing American Style. We open on a dancing audition run by a sleazy dude with a mustache. And it's unclear if they're interviewing strippers or dancers, as each girl seems to have a different idea what the audition is for. But the sleazy mustache guy doesn't seem too interested in what any of the girls can do until one blonde goes, though. To be fair, it doesn't really seem like she's doing anything particularly different than anyone else, except she does a split, and that's about it. But she auditions, and then she goes to the dressing room where the mustache guy follows her, and they start making out. Then Robert Zadar shows up, giant chin first, as Tony, and he's looking for Lynch, who is the mustache guy. The other guy's
he's in the ladies' room.
Mm-hmm. The other guy's at the establishment says he's busy in the dressing room. Tony knocks on the door to the dressing room as Lynch and the blonde bang their teeth together in what I guess is they're pretending to kiss. But Tony says he's got a job. Okay.
I'm sorry. I was surprised that in that scene, the woman is as into it as the guy is.
Mm-hmm.
Because he's so sleazy, I figured it would just be one of those, oh, you really want the job, right? Wink, wink.
Mm-hmm. But no, she's into it, and they have a very weird way of kissing.
That pops up with Robert Zadar later on.
Yeah.
The weird kissing motif.
But Tony knocks on the door to the dressing room as Lynch and the blonde bang their teeth together. But Tony says he's got a job, so Lynch tells the blonde to keep it warm for him, and Tony and Lynch leave. Then cut to a parking lot that seems to be where they just keep rundown ice cream trucks with a lone security guard watching the horizon. And Tony and Lynch show up in a van with a bunch of other dudes, and Tony gets out to talk to the security guard, who is the inside man of this heist. He gives them a quick rundown on where the money is, telling them that the armored car is scheduled to come soon, so they gotta act fast. So the guys pile out of the van, start sneaking around all the ice cream trucks until they manage to break into the facility and start skulking around guns drawn.
Them skulking around in this the parking lot garage or whatever was the first sign to me that this movie was going to be ridiculous.
It's like an ice cream truck graveyard. I don't know.
It was
for some reason I thought it was a construction site.
I mean, a construction site that has a ton of ice cream trucks.
Not a construction site, a junkyard. It's just like a random junkyard.
Yeah, I mean, it seems like pretty low stakes for what goes on in this movie, right? How much money could they possibly get from that place?
And why would there be cash there?
Yeah.
Right. It's not a bank or it's not a business really. It's just it looks like a
Oh,
warehouse.
It's where all those ice cream trucks bring their money after they're done.
Yeah, if you told me this was like an other like gangs front and they're like laundering money through this place.
Yeah.
And there's like $150,000 in like the desk drawer of this place because of that. That makes more sense. But there is no other presence in here.
That would have been great.
Yeah.
And then you could have had a triangle, right? You could have had the cops, the family that's been abducted, and the rival gang who's trying to get back at Robert Zadar for knocking over their joint.
Mm-hmm. Sort
Like
of
maybe-
like the Sonny Chiba movie that we watched.
Oh, yeah. Oh, what was the name of that? God, I can't remember.
Viva Chiba.
Viva Chiba, the bodyguard, Viva Chiba. Yeah. Right, because that would have been pretty cool. And you could have had a scene where the rival gang goes to the strip club and kind of causes havoc there to get back at Zadar. Like, you tell Zadar, it's not his character name, but you tell Zadar he has till morning to get me the money and blah, blah, blah.
And Lynch takes a security guard hostage, then brings him to the office where they pull guns on everyone else that are in the office. They start pushing around the employees, and they take a bag of cash out of one of the desk drawers. Meanwhile, in the back, the inside man tries to get the other security guards in the back out of the way. One of the older guards goes the other way, and he hears a gunshot as one of the employees tries to shoot Tony, but Tony manages to shoot him first. There's a Mexican standoff on either side of the door between the security guards and Tony, but Lynch goes around the back and gets the jump on the two guards and shoots them both. With the money in hand, they sneak through the ice cream trucks again, but now there are armed cops set up trying to stop them. Tony, though, manages to sneak up on each one of them and shoots them all dead, and the guys manage to get away. So one of the workers comes out of the office to see the inside man fire his weapon into the air, pretending to shoot at the guys, and he is promptly arrested and brought to the precinct to make a statement. Meanwhile, Tony is in bed as a sexy blonde strips down and gets in bed with him, and then they fuck.
And they struggle to figure out how to get the sheets around her so nothing gets exposed.
Yeah. But the inside man has now... Oh, good.
I was going to say, that woman never comes back.
Yep.
She's one and done.
Yep. The inside man has now brought a whole bunch of cops to Tony's place to arrest him. As they sneak around trying to get into position around his house, Tony hears them outside. So he stops sexing the woman, grabs his gun, and goes outside and starts shooting at the cops.
How did he know it was the cops?
I don't know.
Right,
Just got 6th sense.
Like he hears something immediately, like, oh, it's the cops. How do you know? What? Why? It could have been one of your guys.
Yeah. He shoots a couple of the cops, but it isn't long before he's surrounded and arrested. At that moment, a couple of cops go to a restaurant where Lynch is having lunch with a whole bunch of sexy ladies. Cops tell him he's under arrest, but as he gets out of the booth, he sucker punches the cop and makes a run for it. Doesn't make it out of the restaurant before he's stopped by the other cop. And the guy he sucker punched gets a couple of cheap shots in as the other cop is putting the handcuffs on him. So Tony and Lynch are arrested and put on a bus with a bunch of other prisoners to maximum security. As the bus is driving, they stop the bus when they come across a man and a woman on the side of the road after a single car accident begging for help. The guards come out of the bus to see what's going on, but it's a trick, and it's actually two of Tony's guys pretending to be this couple.
I love Luna yelling after they get the ruse of, "Hey Tony, we came for you."
They shoot a couple of the guards and then set out to pull Lynch and Tony off the bus. One of the guards sneaks out the back of the bus and shoots one of the guys right in the gut, right before they are able to kill that guard. Tony and Lynch pile the guys into the van and then drive off as the rest of the inmates all make a run for it. Back at the precinct, Jim Brown looks over the files of the bus breakout and talks it over with another couple of cops. A female cop comes in and tells him that they got statements from some inmates that stayed on the bus, that one of the guys that broke out Tony was his brother and he got shot. So he tells to put out a call to local hospitals to be on the lookout. Jim Brown then gets a call from another police chief close to where the bus breakout happened, tells him that he wants to talk to one of the guys they're holding up there. Meanwhile, Tony and his crew have stopped near a motel where they were supposed to meet up, but now he doesn't want to because they'll be looking for them because of all the killings, so they need to find a house where they can lay low. We then cut to a couple of bikini babes coming down the stairs of a house as a kid is doing some karate moves at the bottom of the stairs. The kid then calls one of the women sexy auntie, which is weird.
Not weird at all, Aunt.
And says he's waiting for his dad before they go to his karate class. And his dad shows up in his Zubaz pants and he leaves. Meanwhile, shirtless Tony and Lynch start sneaking around the property, which is some sort of ranch, as the other guy, Looney, waits by the truck with Jesse, Tony's brother. Kid's dad talks with one of the ranch hands briefly before he leaves with the son as Tony and Lynch look on. And sexy auntie and the mom are out by the pool working on their tans. Lynch and Tony then shoot the ranch hand for more or less no reason, but no one hears it for some reason, and they toss the body in one of the horse stalls.
All them fireworks going off in that.
Tony and Lynch then make it to the pool, and Lynch gets distracted by the women, but Tony's yelling at him alerts the women, so they go running into the house as Tony and Lynch chase after them. Girls go around locking the doors in the house as Tony and Lynch go around trying to make their way in. Tony finds a window he can break in, and Lynch eventually breaks down a door. The girls try to call the police, but the guys grab them and then tell them they'll hurt them if they try anything stupid. So Looney brings Jesse into the house, and they put him upstairs into one of the bedrooms. One of the girls happens to be a nursing student, so Tony orders her upstairs to help his brother, as Tony tells Looney to hide the truck. Also, I wouldn't tell a damn person that my sister was a nurse, right? In this situation.
Yeah, what's the worst they could do?
Yeah, it's like nobody here knows anything.
Yeah, we don't know anything. We're just babes at suntan.
Yeah, they're sugar babies.
Yep.
Girls try to attend to Jesse as he rides around on a waterbed, but she says he still has the bullet inside of him, so he needs to go to the hospital. And Tony tells her the hospital isn't an option, so they better fix him. The girls go looking for a first aid kit while Tony calls his mom and tells her that they need to move fast on the plan and they need to get the money. He gives her instructions on where to bring the money and they hang up. They then rip phones out of the walls. Yeah, so I'm not 100% sure what the plan is. I'm assuming that they're trying to get out of the country.
Yeah.
Right?
Do they mention it?
They never mention it. They just say the plan needs to happen now. But because they've broken out of prison, I'm assuming they need the money because they're trying to get out of the country.
Okay.
That would be my assumption.
That would make the most sense, but it's a very roundabout way of doing that.
They never outright say what the next part of the plan is supposed to be. It's like, oh, it's 2 hours, 2 hours to the border, so we should be good, before everything goes wrong.
Right, basically from dusk till dawn. Right, they rob a convenience store. They get money. Right, Quentin Tarantino and George Clooney's character, they're looking to flee the country.
Yeah,
and they explain that. That's why they're stopping over. Like, oh, we'll do this in the morning. Blah blah blah. In this movie, I still don't understand what the plan was. I guess we're speculating here, but
yeah, that's what I like. They broke out off of a prison bus, and now they need to go somewhere where they can't be found. So I'm guessing they're trying to get out of the country and go into Mexico.
Right, and they're in California.
Yes,
right. They mentioned Fresno.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I guess that makes somewhat sense. I wish it could have been laid out a little bit better.
Yep, I agree. Meanwhile, at karate class, the kid is sparring with one of the other kids as the dad looks on. Then some kid tries to bully the son, Brandon, by calling him a chicken. The dad tries to stop the bully and tells him that his son's not fighting him. Then the bully's dad starts to bully Brandon's dad, calling him a chicken too.
He bullies the kid.
Yeah.
The guy knew he was a chicken. Like, why are you putting hands on the kid?
Yeah. So they get in the ring and they start fighting. They trade hits back and forth until Brandon's dad knocks the guy out of the ring.
Did either of you guys think he was going to lose?
I did. Yeah.
Right. It looked like he was down and out for a little bit.
He was really selling those kicks. Those first kicks to the stomach.
Yeah. He was moaning, oh.
Yeah.
Oh man, this isn't a good look for our hero.
He was putting him over big time.
Big time. Yeah, that guy had a lot of heat.
Jim and a couple of other cops meet with one of Tony's guys that has been arrested previously. Jim, yeah. Oh, Jim Brown. That's who I meant. Jim Brown and a couple of other people. I was like, who the fuck's Jim?
Our good friend Jim. You know Jim.
Just Jim.
And they interrogate him and beat him for information. He tells them that if anyone would know where the money is, it would be Tony's mom, who owns a cat house out in the Nevada desert. So they toss him in solitary and tell him he's going to be there until Tony and his men are caught. Brandon and his dad, John, come home and they're immediately taken hostage by Tony and his crew. And John manages to knock Lynch to the ground and take his gun, but Tony threatens John's wife, so he gives up the gun.
That's failed attempt number 1.
Yep. Lynch doesn't take too kindly to it, so he hits John right in the stomach with his gun, but Tony stops him from going any further.
So, real quick, throughout the movie, there are several times where the Zadar and his gang only threaten to kill the family, but Zadar stops them.
Yeah.
Why?
Good question.
It's not a hostage situation, really. They're holding them hostage, yes, but it's not like the cops are outside demanding. Right. You know what I mean? So not killing them makes no sense in the grand scheme of their plan. I
see what you mean. Well, first it's the sexy auntie as a nursing student attending to Jesse, and then let's assume that everybody's looking for these guys, so they can't go out of the house. So they need somebody to find a doctor for them, and then they need somebody to try and pick up the money for them because they can't be seen. They think they're like public enemy number one. If they go out, they're gonna be caught.
Well, they did kill like 10 cops.
Yeah.
Yeah, they got the 5-star wanted level.
Definitely.
So from that aspect, I could see why they would keep them alive. But your point is valid. Like they could probably, their lives would probably be a little bit easier without hostages.
Yeah, I think it's you gotta make them pay because they try to escape a bunch of times, and like Lynch or someone will be like, "Oh, let me blow them away," and Zadar's like, "No, not yet, not yet." You can't just let them keep running around on you.
Yeah. Jesse tries to come down the steps, but he can barely walk, so Tony tells John that he needs to find him a doctor. Sexy Auntie, though, says she knows a doctor. So Tony tells her to give John the address and tells him he better get the doctor there to help his brother or his family is going to bleed with him. Meanwhile, Jim Brown goes to a cat house. Immediately, all the prostitutes immediately come on to him very aggressively. They'll have some sort of play on words for their names. Jim starts asking around for Tony's mom, who's the man in the cat house. One of the girls tells him that she's gone on vacation, so she can't get in touch with her. He continues to press the girl, but she eventually starts to push back against him, without giving him more information. But then one of the other girls gives him the type of car that Tony's mom's drive.
Immediately snitches.
Yep, it's just like a drive-by.
Yeah,
she just like walks across the camera and doesn't stop. Just she drives a Taurus. Meanwhile, John is at the doctor's house getting antsy. He's told the doctor that he needs him to tend to a boy who was hurt in a tractor accident. And the doctor says goodbye to his wife, and then they leave. John drives the doctor back to the house, but very fast to the point where he scares the doctor and winds up getting a police tail. The chase ensues with the cops, but eventually John loses them before making it back to the house. And then John and the doctor get back to the house, and the guys lead the doctor up to the bedroom.
Real quick, there's a scene where in the car, John is driving the doctor, right? And the doctor's kind of hip to what's going on. Like, oh, I want out. And there's a cop car ahead of them who sees them coming, and they're on the side of the road, and they're waving them down to like stop.
Yeah.
For some reason, John goes off the road to avoid the cop car when he could have just stayed on the main road.
Yeah.
Right. Like the cop car wasn't blocking the road; they were off to the side. Could have just kept going. I don't know what happened there. Maybe they couldn't film there. Maybe Shervan wanted to have them in the middle of the road, but they just couldn't do it. So just put them to the side.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe it's just more dramatic to go off road.
He really wanted to, right? The actor called an audible. I'm going off roading.
Back at the precinct, Jim Brown gets another call from the other police chief. He tells him about the car chase and says he thinks it's connected to the fugitives. So Jim Brown tells one of his cops to go help out the precinct near the ranch to help with the search. The doctor attends to Jesse and he says he's done. Tells Tony the bleeding has stopped and he removed the bullet, so he'll be back in the morning to check on Jesse. But Tony says he's not going anywhere until they leave. So John tries to convince Tony to leave now, giving him $3,000 in cash. But Tony says they'll leave when he's good and ready. John attacks Tony, but Lynch pistol whips John and knocks him out. And he's about to shoot John, but Tony tells him not yet, that John will die a slow, painful death. It's escape attempt number 2.
Yep, number 2.
Doctor attends to John, and Lynch threatens to shoot John again, but Tony stops him again. Jim Brown gets a call at home from the other police chief who informs him about the missing doctor. It gets late, and Tony goes to get some sleep, leaving Looney on watch. Brandon is upset about his dad, but the doctor reassures him that his dad is going to be fine. Mentions his mom is taking a bath, so he ushers Brandon to bed to get some sleep. And Lynch overhears that the mom is taking a bath, so he goes into sexual violence mode. He sneaks into the bathroom, past the sleeping John, gets undressed and forces himself onto the mom. Then goes to sleep on an armchair and falls asleep immediately. Looney switches guns with Lynch as he sleeps, taking the handgun and leaving Lynch with a rifle. At this point, most of the house goes to sleep. Brandon, Sexy Auntie, and the doctor are all in the same room. Brandon sneaks out and manages to steal the handgun from a sleeping Looney.
I love how he tries to put the gun in his waistband.
Yeah. He didn't know exactly where to put it.
Right.
Like, I guess this looks convincing.
Yeah.
Brandon continues downstairs and runs into Lynch, who orders him back up the steps. Brandon says his stomach hurts. In reality, he's hiding the gun inside his pajamas, and he wants to sleep with his mom, so Lynch lets him go into his parents' room. Brandon walks in to find his dad asleep and his mom in a catatonic state. Tries to wake up his dad to tell him he has a gun, but his dad is in and out of consciousness. Then goes to his mom, who is traumatized by what just happened to her, so she's slow to respond, but she eventually takes the gun. And at that moment, Tony bursts in with Lynch and Looney, brandishing their guns and ordering the mom to drop the gun.
I'm sorry to interrupt. I think we needed a scene where Looney wakes up and realizes the gun is gone.
Mm-hmm.
Because they just burst into the room out of nowhere.
Yeah. She holds on, pointing it at Lynch for a bit, then hands over the gun when they threaten Brandon and John's lives. They take the gun from her and leave the room. Then Tony disciplines Looney and tells him to get upstairs and watch the others. Looney leaves and Lynch tells him that Looney is a liability, but Tony says he can't do anything about it because Looney is his uncle. Lynch then calls his cousin, telling him that he needs to come in the morning. So he gives him the address, and his cousins say they'll be there. In the morning, the cops show up at the motel where Tony's mom is holding the money. They go through the plans. Meanwhile, Tony is telling John to go to the motel to get the money for the mom, giving him exact instructions on how to get it from her. Tony gives John a briefcase and sends him on his way. The doctor asks Tony if he could call his wife now because she'll probably be worried about him. Tony says she's probably cooking breakfast for her lover. Doctor doesn't take too kindly to that and talk about his wife, so he slaps Tony in the face.
What was the point of that?
Just being a dick.
He saved your brother's life.
Yeah. Tony doesn't take too kindly to that, so he slaps the doctor and tells him to get on his knees. Doctor refuses, so Lynch pistol whips him in the back and the doctor falls to his knees. Tony points a gun in his face, tells him to apologize, and Doctor refuses, saying he will not apologize for defending his marriage, and if Tony is going to shoot him, he might as well. So he holds the gun, threatens to shoot him for a few moments, then laughs and walks away.
Real quick.
Yep.
Why do you think Shervan hired an Hispanic actor to play a Japanese man?
I couldn't tell you. I don't even want to hazard a guess.
I don't get it. It's not that crazy. Just go, if you want that, get an Hispanic actor to play an Hispanic doctor.
Right. Yeah. The doctor could be anything.
It could be anything. Yeah.
Yeah. Like they didn't even, as you said, play into the, I think they did a little bit play into the fact that he's supposed to be Asian with the way the wife was dressed, but
right.
There was no reason. Yeah, there was no reason why, like you said, you fire a Hispanic actor. Why it's not just a Hispanic doctor?
Yeah. Does Shervan not think they have doctors?
Yeah, there's no story relevance or even uncomfortable racism.
There's definitely some racism in this movie.
Oh no, but I meant like the reason to make him Asian. Like there's no like he's like special Eastern medicine or something like that. Something that's really racist.
Do you think it's because he wanted to say that one slur? Like Shervan wrote that slur, the Asian slur, into the script. I was like, well, I already wrote it, so I need to have an Asian character.
Yeah, it's the 80s, so anything's possible. You could have also replaced that with another slur. That would have worked just as well.
One of the henchmen in the beginning calls a black cop boy.
Yeah, I noticed that too.
I was like, oh man, here we go.
Yeah.
Brace yourselves.
Yeah. John goes to the motel and checks in and is helped to his room by a cop pretending not very well to be a bellhop. John figures out pretty quickly and jumps the guy. A fight ensues.
The cop kicks his ass.
Yeah, it seems like every fight John gets into, he gets his ass kicked until the end.
Right. Yeah. Like he had the upper hand and still almost loses.
Yeah. Fight ensues until John is able to knock the cop out and goes next door for the drop. He gives the password and bullies Tony's mom until she gives him the money and the key, and then she leaves, and then John tries to leave. One of my biggest laughs of this movie was the two cops just running full sprints across the parking lot.
Yeah.
That was pretty good. The one is it the one cop who gets his head bashed into the wall?
Mm-hmm.
Is he dead? There's a lot of blood on that wall.
No, I think they called Jim Brown.
Okay.
Back.
So
yeah, all three of them are still alive, yeah. He's stopped by a couple of cops until he beats them up and manages to get away. He drives back to the house, but he stops early and hides the cash on the property. He also finds the body of the ranch hand and the boy, who has been hanging around since yesterday, I suppose.
For quite a while.
Yeah. John tells him to get out of here. The kid smiles and runs off camera. He tosses a gun on the roof for later.
Well, at least we know one person was having fun on this film.
Then he drives back to the house and the guys pat him down, asking for the money. John says there was no money and there was no woman there for the drop. He shows them the key as evidence that he tried. Lynch is pissed because he says he knew that the mom would bail with the money. And while the gunmen are arguing with each other, John tells his family that he has stashed a gun on the roof, needs the kid to help him get it. So John and Brandon go outside, and John hoists Brandon onto his shoulders to go retrieve the gun. This takes a lot longer than it needs to. Quietness of the family has Tony send Looney up to see what everyone is doing.
Yeah, for some reason they made it a lot more dramatic than it needed to be.
Yeah. But Sexy Auntie pulls the classic Bugs Bunny seduction trick to buy them more time. But when Looney asks for a kiss, Sexy Auntie only gives him a little playful kiss on her hand to his nose, and he gets mad. So he pushes her down, and the doctor gets involved. This all gives John enough time to get the gun, and he shoots Looney in the stomach. Looney calls out to Tony before he collapses on the floor.
Tony! This is such a great death scene. It's like, Tony!
We then get into standoff territory now, as John has the second floor and Tony has the first floor. Tony tells Lynch to go out back and climb up onto the balcony while he distracts John from the inside. Now John has 2 guns, and the doctor wants one of them because he's going to kill them Japanese style. John says he's going to kill them American style.
Yeah. I was wondering what, throughout the entire movie, I was like, what does killing American style even mean? But I guess it's just shooting people.
Yep. I mean, and that tracks.
Yeah, but the problem is it's grown men, it's not kids.
Right.
It's kind of true.
Yeah.
How batshit crazy would that be? I'm going to kill them American style and just go to a school. Oh my God, this got dark real quick.
Yeah. John shoots back and forth with Tony, but the doctor catches Lynch trying to climb up the balcony, so he tells John who shoots Lynch in the stomach as he tries to climb up, and he falls to the ground below. Lynch's cousins show up, and they start walking around the property. Meanwhile, Tony and Jesse try to make a break for it through the ranch. They leave Lynch behind on the ground, so the wife comes out with a rifle and shoots his dick off. Meanwhile, Tony and Jesse are trying to hotwire the van because they left the keys back at the house. Doesn't work, so they go run for it, and they run into Lynch's cousin. They tell him that Lynch was killed, so the cousin now wants to kill John too. A long gunfight ensues with John skulking around the property and killing the cousins one by one. One of the guys gets set on fire, a couple other guys get killed, John taking their weapons along the way. He then meets up with the main cousin, and they start fighting hand to hand. Eventually, John knocks him down, and the guy goes for his gun, but John manages to shoot him first. That's a running theme of this hand-to-hand combat. Hand-to-hand combat, then the loser tries to sneak shoot at a gun at the guy, and then he's just too quick for him.
I think that also happens in Samurai Cop a few times.
I'm sure.
Yeah, the last act of desperation of the man taking the L.
Yeah.
I guess he saw Die Hard and like, oh, that happens in Die Hard. I'll just do that.
Yeah. Meanwhile, Tony and Jesse run into the farmhand's kid and take him hostage. Jesse and John also shoot it out, and John winds up shooting and killing Jesse in the ranch. Jim Brown and the cops show up and almost shoot John, but the doctor tells him that he's the owner of the house. So the cops try to tell Tony to come out, but he won't give up the kid. So John approaches Tony and gives him the keys to the car and tells Tony he wants to finish this man to man. So they start fighting each other. Eventually, John gets Tony on the floor, starts beating him, but eventually his wife convinces him to stop. Then Tony goes for his gun, and then John is quicker and kills Tony with his own gun. Then Jim Brown comes in and has his men clean up the mess and thanks John for stopping these guys. And they wheel out the ranch hand, and his family is there out of nowhere.
How great is it that the cop thanks someone? Like, oh, thanks for killing all these people. You really saved us some work.
Yeah, he saved us the paperwork.
That's not how cops work. They don't go around thanking vigilantes usually.
And then the son says his mom is worried because she doesn't know how they're going to afford to live without the dad. So John retrieves the money he stashed and tells the kid that the dad left it with him. And then the ranch hand's family goes off with the cash, and John's family embrace. And that is the end of Killing American Style. Pretty fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, it definitely... It doesn't live up to the hype of the other two movies, Hollywood Cop and Samurai Cop, but there's still enough here that puts it in the same category or the same class.
Mm-hmm.
I think it gets overshadowed by the other two, but there's shirtless Robert Zadar for no reason in this movie quite a few times.
Yeah.
It was almost as if he stipulated, I'll be in the movie, but I need to be shirtless for at least 25% of the movie. Stilted acting from a very, very boring lead actor.
Yeah.
just a lot of unnecessary stuff to put in a movie, but somehow it all comes together for our entertainment.
Sure.
It's like the perfect movie for us.
Yeah. All right. Well, we're going to take a quick break, and you guys are going to listen to some ads and pay those bills, and we'll be back for a third segment. So just sit tight, and we'll be right back. And welcome back. Now it's time for our third segment. And this week, we are casting Robert Zadar. I don't even know what we're calling this. We'll call it Casting Robert Zadar. How about that? Yeah. So, honestly, couldn't really think of a third segment, but we thought of this on the fly because we were talking off podcast about seeing Robert Zadar in other movies. So we are going to kind of go around the room, the proverbial room, and just like put Robert Zadar in some of your favorite movies. And basically it's 4 movies or whatever, how many that are made better by having Robert Zadar in them. Simple enough concept. All right, who wants to go first? Mark sounded like he was the most prepared, so Mark gets to go first.
Yeah. So, I immediately is the first thing I thought of, and it's really, really dumb, and I don't even know if I'm picking up for the performance, but for some reason in my head, the first thing I thought of was casting him as Zordon in the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers movie.
Pretty good. Yeah.
His giant head.
Just a floating head.
Just floating Robert Zadar head in a tube. It made me giggle when we first brought that up. I was like, oh, I have a first one that entertains me. Just because we were talking about the jawline and all that, and I'm having that blown up would just be funny to me. So, yes, as Zordon in the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers movie.
Sure. I dig it. Okay, cool. Dan, you got one?
I do. This is a little bit more of an obscure reference, but in my mind, with that kind of chin, I think he would have been the perfect mouth of Sauron from Lord of the Rings, Return of the King.
Okay.
If you're not familiar with it, just Google the mouth of Sauron. The only thing you see of the character is his mouth and like the lower part, his mouth and chin. So having that just jutting out from this mask makes me laugh. I think it would have been a good choice.
Okay, cool. I have a couple of off the beaten path picks. My first one is another person synonymous with a big chin is Jay Leno. Okay. So I am putting him as Jay Leno in the movie The Late Shift, the HBO movie from the 90s about the transfer of power of the Tonight Show, the original transfer of power.
That would have been cool.
Yeah. As soon as you said famous chin, I was like, he's going to do Late Shift and make him Jay Leno.
Yeah.
Good choice.
Yeah.
All right, Mark, what about you? You got another one?
Yeah. So my other one is, kind of dumb as well. And very, very specific character. I for some reason would love to see Nat bone structure and body play the Vincent D'Onofrio character from Men in Black.
The Edgar.
Alien. Yeah, Edgar.
The alien in a Robert Zadar suit.
Yeah, just because visually it would look much more. They wouldn't have to do much with the makeup to kind of make it look like an alien in there. And especially if he was in the shape he was in the 80s, you could have played that up. But yeah, that was immediately like, I don't know if there's many starring roles that I want to see him in, but there's a lot of goofy, like side, supporting characters that I feel he fits. And this was one of the first ones that popped in my head.
Cool. All right, Dan, you got another one?
I do. So this one is an historical figure. It would be Steven Spielberg's Lincoln. Just him with the beard. I would love to see, and there's a lot of monologues in that movie. So really get to stretch it out there for Robert Zadar. If you could put that through the what is it, the
AI filter?
The AI filter, Robert Zadar as Abraham Lincoln, I would love to see that.
All right, putting it through already. For me, my next one is not a movie. It is a long forgotten commercial mascot from the 80s, and it's Mac Tonight from McDonald's. The Moon Man.
The moon.
Just you probably don't even need a head, just Robert Zadar's face.
Yeah. In the moon?
Yeah.
That's great. Oh, hell yeah.
Oh, Mac Tonight. It's amazing.
It took me a minute to remember Mac Tonight. But yeah, I do remember those claymation commercials.
Yeah, I don't remember it being claymation.
Was it? I thought it was. Maybe I'm wrong.
I think it's a guy with a moon head playing the piano.
Yeah.
Oh, maybe I'm thinking of the Raisinets, the California Raisins.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's even better.
That's
though.
claymation. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, that's so good.
Okay, Mark, what about you? You got another one?
Yeah, so I know I just mentioned no starring roles, but this one just popped into my head, and I thought it was too good. I would love him to play Gino from Out for Justice.
Okay.
Steven Seagal's character. I don't know if he could pull off the really bad Brooklyn accent, but he's got history of being a New York City cop from Maniac Cop. So a little bit of history there to put Robert Zadar in that role, and it would also allow for him the weird fighting scenes that he seems to have in all of his movies.
Okay, cool. Dan, what about you? You got one more?
I do, yes. So sticking again with the whole helmet idea and just the chin being so prominent, I'm going to replace him. I'm going to replace Sylvester Stallone with Robert Zadar in Judge Dredd.
Sure.
And just really ham it up.
Make a really giant helmet.
Yeah.
Yeah. And just picturing Robert Zadar saying that he is the law just really tickles me. I think that's a good casting. But he would just be like seething through his clenched jaw. I am the law.
I like it. For me, I go a couple ways here, and let's call it at 3. I think we've got some good ones.
Yeah.
If I wanted to be really mean, I'd say he'd replace Eric Stoltz in the movie Mask.
Ooh.
Also, you could probably say he could be the face of the villain when he puts on the mask in the movie The Mask.
Oh yeah, okay, that makes sense too.
I'm going to go with Two-Face.
Oh, nice.
Batman Forever.
That's pretty good. I would love to see that.
Yeah.
I think he would be better than Tommy Lee Jones because Tommy Lee Jones was fucking terrible in that movie.
And he hates that movie.
He does.
He hated that whole experience.
So he would probably give anything to give that away to Robert Zadar or anybody.
Yeah. So that's the one I'm going with.
I have one more. I feel like this might be cheating or just like maybe lazy. But what about just like the Frankenstein's monster?
Sure.
Right? He's lumbering.
Yeah.
He's a big lumbering.
What about
dork.
Carl Havoc? And I think you should leave sketch.
I don't want to be here anymore. You don't want to live anymore, Robert Zadar? Maybe. Yeah, that'd be good. So would the sketch be Tim Robinson?
He's in a suit that is just Robert Zadar.
Right. So like it shows them putting the prosthetics on it and it just goes to the next shot is just Robert Zadar.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's good. I like that. Pick up that tray. I don't want to. Or was it flip that table over, right?
Yeah.
Why? Because it's funny. It's not funny. It's annoying. That would be great. I would love to see him in a I Think You Should Leave sketch. Obviously, we can't anymore, but more's the pity.
All right. I think we got some good picks here. I'd like to see all of these. So, yeah, that's going to wrap us up this week. Check us out on all our socials. We are on Instagram, Twitter, or X, whatever we want to call it, until that dies a slow and painful death. Threads, a TikTam pod for all 3 of those. Let's check us out there. And we are on TikTok at They Called Some Movie. And if you have questions, comments, you want to shoot us an email with some suggestions for movies, hit us up on the Gmail at tictampod@gmail.com. And if you got a question, if you have a couple minutes, you want to give us a 5-star review, that'd be great. Would help us out, help us get seen, and get our voices out there. Yeah, that's it. It's going to wrap us up this week. The director of Killing American Style is Amir Shervan. So, for Dan Aquino and Mark Myers, this is Anthony Delvecchio telling Killing American Style director Amir Shervan, well, you certainly made a movie, didn't you? Thanks for listening to They Called Us a Movie. Subscribe to us wherever you get your podcasts, and be sure to check us out on Twitter and Instagram at TicTamPod. That's TCTAM Pod. You can also check us out on TikTok at They Called Us a Movie.